welcome back to Radio Highway Palil Ki Wani with Tehzeeb wala RJ Shardul, and you're listening our favorite show Palil Morning Express, where we have today Mrs. Vibha ma'am. Ma'am, please briefly introduce to yourself with our listeners.
Thank you for having me on this show of yours. And let me first congratulate you for this wonderful initiative. And I really hope that this, the sound of Palil Ki Wani reaches the world and impresses people's hearts. So I'm Vibha Lakhera, and I am the founder of Project Empathy. At the same time, my husband is DG Assam Rifles, so I'm wearing the other hat of being, President ARWA.
Okay, ma'am.
ARWA is Assam Rifles Wives Welfare Association.
Okay.
So that's about it for now.
Okay,
That's
sure,
my
ma'am,
introduction,
sure, ma'am.
briefly.
So before taking responsibilities at ARWA, please may listeners to tell who is Mr. Vibha Lakhera instead of being tell us about something, ma'am, about your journey.
Okay. So I have been trained to be a teacher.
Okay, ma'am.
I did my B.Ed after completing my graduation, and after which I got married. But it was only after we got married did I take up any kind of teaching assignment. The first job was in Dehradun.
Okay.
And after that, I kept teaching in several places because my husband kept getting posted from one place to another. So there was not a time when it was a sustained career in teaching that I could achieve because of the movement.
Okay, ma'am.
But in the year 2014, I can almost call it as a page turner for myself, because there was a foundation which was being established, Reach Out Foundation. The foundation was to battle racial and ethnic discrimination that prevails in India, particularly in the context of Northeast, this region.
Okay.
So the person who was getting started with it, he invited me, why don't you also join it? So I joined the foundation, not knowing exactly what racial and ethnic discrimination meant in the on ground. How was it unfolding for the larger community of our country people. I just joined it, and after that, for enough time, I had to understand what is going on and so on. But along the journey, we started a project called Say No to India.
No to India. Okay, ma'am.
And I would also like to mention over here that I was oriented and literally nurtured by some very, not only were they professionals, but some people who are very inspiring as well.
Okay.
Mr. Kishlay Bhattacharya, who was ex-NDTV.
Okay.
So I worked along with him in the foundation. And Miss Monica Banerjee, who is again, she has a good name in the non-profit, sector.
Okay.
So yes, I was oriented about what discrimination is as an experience, not only as a concept. And after that, we started this project called Say No to India. It was in one of the schools in Delhi.
Okay.
Before that, I had worked on this monograph, a research monograph, which was to assess the acceptance of diversity in Delhi NCR schools.
Okay.
In fact, that happened to be a page turner for me, literally, because while I was going and meeting teachers and students, I realized that I, as a teacher, had been culpable of showing favoritism to students, or giving silent treatment to some of my students, which I had not realized before that. Because when you are into it, you don't realize how your behavior is impacting the students.
Very true.
So while I was interviewing the teachers and the students, it really woke me up. It shook me up. And since after that, something shifted from within me. After that, it just became a way of life for myself. The project moved well.
Okay,
and later it got evolved into Project Empathy, which is the current organization that I am heading and working for.
Okay, ma'am. We can say this, you have so many of hats in you, and you have so many experience in a different way. You're carried in your gesture, and also the way of journey, actually the same.
Yes. I mean, yes, one is wearing different hats, but the underlying sentiment is the same.
Right.
You can keep changing hats,
Yes, ma'am.
but your essence,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
would say,
Essence.
it remains the same wherever you are.
Actually, ma'am. Actually, ma'am.
Be it as President Arwa or be it as the founder of Project Empathy,
Bilkul, ma'am.
or even in Reach Out Foundation for that matter.
Very true, ma'am. Very true. So you said that, ma'am, the way of social work is already attached to you till the start. You're starting till right now.
Yes.
We can say.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, ma'am. Means there is any value guided by you to through your whole journey of your life till now?
Any value which has guided me?
Yes, ma'am.
See, there is one thing which I really hold close to my heart, which is fairness.
Okay.
Unfairness in any form, it really rattles me, and it kind of makes me feel annoyed as well as irritated, you know. And when we talk about fairness, you can talk about it in the context of students, or in the context of professionals, or anywhere for that matter. And that underlying value is also very closely attached to discrimination as well as empathy.
Right.
Empathy, I would say, is the supreme intelligence which ensures, fairness for everyone.
Right.
So, fairness for me is very important.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much for this. Now we are going to on a second part of that. कि ma'am, life as an Assam Rifles family. We can talking about that. So behind every soldier there is a woman. So if you can tell us something about related to Assam Rifles, कि how they carry forward their things. There are so many every year. There are so many. There are so many women who are to become a part of Assam Rifles family.
Yes.
So what did your experience and what did you tell about this thing?
See, first of all, I would begin this by saying that, yes, it has been, this particular, let's say, the phrase behind every man is a woman.
Right.
That phrase has existed for a very long time. However, I look at it from this point of view that a family is a single unit.
Right.
And if we are taking care of our women, we are actually taking care of the whole family.
Very
and
true.
when it is applied in the case of soldiers, it is actually when we are taking care of our families, the wives of soldiers, we are in a roundabout manner also serving the organization.
Right.
So, so yes, to that extent, we have done, we have carried out several welfare activities. And my take on welfare activities is that it should be sustainable. It should not be a one-off, event. Those also serve us well, but when it is sustained, then one can hope that the seed would take its root or ground,
Right, ma'am.
So that is how it's moving.
How is important to emotional support within the Assam Rifles family being during a long deployments and different times?
Emotional support, I think, is extremely important. I think that during the times of COVID, when COVID came, people found themselves isolated.
Yes, ma'am.
And that was the first time when I think majorly people realized that how important it is to talk about mental health, how important it is to be able to connect with another human being at a emotional level.
Right.
Therefore, I think that giving emotional support to, let's say, our families, or to ourselves, to our own officer wives even, I think it is extremely important. If you can feel connected and bonded with people around you, it can impact the overall environment of a place. In the lack of that, people feel, they don't feel connected, and they can actually end up, as it is, we can see there is emotional poverty in the world.
Yes, ma'am. Right.
Because of all the digital devices.
Very true, ma'am.
So to make an effort in this direction where you feel emotionally connected, I think that is extremely important.
Actually, ma'am, this is a part of life, and if we do not do this, so that will actually stuck us.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely.
Ma'am, army wives have done a lots of roles as a mother, as a daughter, as a wife, as an also a businesswoman. So how did you carry forward these roles in your life?
While you're, let's say, while you're playing these roles, you're not thinking about it that I'm playing this role or that role.
Right.
You are just, just moving from one phase to another, where initially you're a wife, a young wife. You're getting acquainted with the ways of the army. I would say army, and then I'll also add Assam Rifles to it,
Right.
because the tone and tenor and the functionality is very similar. You're getting to understand all of that, and then later on you become a mother. So you have to take care of the family, particularly when the soldier is away, when your husband is away, and
Right.
there are long spells of separation. There are spells of feeling alone and lonely, particularly emotionally lonely. You may have people around you, physically supporting you, and you are taken care of materially also. But the emotional separation is what causes the real challenge. And therefore, to navigate oneself through these roles, I think the strength comes from having a robust emotional world, inner world. So if one can nurture that part of oneself, I think you can, move from one role to another in a.
Very true.
It
ma'am.
can really help you.
Very true, ma'am. Very true. What message would you like to share with the Assam Rifles young women who joining Assam Rifles for the society?
Okay, so for women who are young and who are recently married,
Yes, ma'am.
and whose husbands are serving in Assam Rifles, I would like to say that just try to connect to the community, because in present times, that is what we have lost out majorly on. People have become too individualistic.
Right, ma'am.
Everyone wants to have their own space and individuality, which is fine. I mean, maybe in the present world, individuality matters a lot. But then, in guarding your individuality, you should not lose track of being part of a community. That is the beauty of having, organizations, being part of organizations like Assam Rifles or even the army.
Yes.
You get so much community support.
Very true.
And
Yes,
in
ma'am.
times when people are, where people feel isolated and disconnected, I think it's a great luxury.
Actually,
So
ma'am.
to explore that luxury for yourself, I think that is going to be the key to having a wonderful time in the organization.
So, ma'am, now we are going to a Arva project.
Yeah.
That as you have working with so many organizations and you have doing so many initiatives you have taken as a lady. So now we are going to head into a Arva project.
Right.
And many people know the Arva, but do not know wide range of Arva, how the name is coming. And to our listeners, we wanted to tell how the Assam Rifles Welfare Association work.
So ARWA is a non-profit organization. It is registered in Shillong.
Okay.
And like any non-profit organization, the vision is Asha, Vishwas, Maitri.
Okay.
So when I say Asha, it is hope. Vishwas is belief or faith, and Maitri is friendship. So this is the three tenets: Asha, Vishwas, Maitri. It is for all the women who are married to soldiers to have a good bonding as friends beyond the hierarchies. I mean, my husband happens to be the DG, but I don't find anything amiss or anything missing when I am relating to, let's say, a Jawan's wife.
Yes,
because as a woman, from woman to woman, our identity is the same.
Right.
And there is a lot of parity in our experiences also.
Could you tell the listeners about the vision and mission of the Assam Rifles Welfare Association?
Yes, so the vision and mission both remain the same, to nurture our women, I mean, who are married to soldiers in such a way that they can stand strong, they can face the challenges in a way which is helping the whole family and in a roundabout manner the organization also. And also to inculcate, these values of Asha, Vishwas, Maitri, which is hope, faith and friendship in the larger community. so that they can, join hands together, they can build human bonds, and there is a creation of compassionate communities amongst the women. Women are the ones who are supporting the whole family in the most emotional, at the emotional front, and therefore to have a strong emotional support for the whole family, I think it can really support the organization. So that is the whole mission and vision for Arva. At the same time, to upscale their skills, and those skills could be tangible or intangible skills. So yeah, so that's how, and to also have a lot of fun while we are doing all these activities and initiatives.
So in this initiative, there are so many teamworks are there also, right, ma'am?
Yes, there's the whole team has to work. I mean, it can't be a single person's.
Yes, ma'am.
One can think of an idea, but then when it comes to execution and implementing it, the whole team joins hands. And one more thing which I would like to mention over here is, and which is really worth appreciating, is that it is the officer wives who give their time and energy to Arva.
Right.
And it is all on a voluntary basis. There's no honorarium for any officer wife for having spent so much of their time and energy and investing themselves in an organization like Arva. So it becomes even more valuable, I feel. I mean, to appreciate what Arva is being able to achieve given the limited resources that we have.
Actually, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, what are some welfare initiatives currently under the Arva for families and children?
So we have all kinds of initiatives. We have, in current times, mental health and mental well-being is being addressed. We are rather introducing what is AI to our families.
Okay.
Yes, and the hazards of AI. The takeaways of AI and the hazards as well, so that they are well informed. And then we have skill development, where they learn beautician courses, and driving schools are there. So these are some of the things which are being done under the banner of Arva.
Okay. That is actually seemed very different and something really good. Actually, there are so many things are going on in the Arva and in the families, because if being a civilian, we do not know what the things are going on. So through these projects, you are taking care of that. How you can do a local civilian can also connect with you.
Yes.
Through the organizations.
Yes, absolutely. For example, in Shillong, in DGR headquarters,
yes, ma'am,
we are about to start with a 3-month-long project. It's a short project.
Okay.
It is about waste management, and we are collaborating with Green Ammo, which is another non-profit organization.
Okay.
They are going to come and teach our, Jawans' wives and even officer wives about the use of plastic and how detrimental it is. How can we reuse the plastic content which is there in the household, and how to manage the waste that is there in every household, and therefore it is also orienting them towards being conscious about climate change and environment.
Impressive, ma'am. Impressive.
So, yes.
What initiative is very close to your heart and why?
Before I talk about the initiative, I think that when you change the consciousness or the perspective of, let's say, a group of people, I think the most amount of effort is required over there. If one can, even for a little bit of an iota, can bring about that kind of a change where the thinking changes, the action will definitely show up in the outside, in the outer world.
Yes, ma'am.
So the first change has to occur inside. And that being said, we are running this project Rubaru, which is an initiative of Project Empathy in collaboration with Arva.
Oh, wow.
Yes, it is a collaborative effort where we are, involving at least there are 20 psychologists across all the states of Northeast, wherever Assam Rifles is functioning. Then there are officer wives who are coordinators.
Okay.
And then, of course, the target audience, which is our Jawans' wives.
Okay.
It is once in a week that we have these sessions. The sessions, they are curated conversations about empathy, about identity, who am I,
Okay.
Mera Wajood,
Okay.
and about grief.
Wow.
How to, what is the language that you must employ if you are giving support towards somebody who's grieving.
Actually.
And in our kind of environment, every now and then you find people grieving for somebody who's gone.
Actually.
So how to give support to those people, these are the kind of conversations we are having, and these are being navigated and steered by trained psychologists. It is a sustained project. I mean, it is a sustained effort to bring about a certain perception shift, to widen the perspective of our women who are soldiers' wives, to also make them see that when you are in a group and when you are sharing your story, it's nothing short of courage. To open yourself up and share your vulnerable stories is very courageous. And then from there to find that everyone is battling some kind of a battle at their ends, and to find that thread to be the uniting thread for women. So these are the I would say the really good stuff, or basic fundamental rules of engagement for Rubaru.
Right.
And I think we have achieved quite a lot in that. I, sitting in Shillong, have been able to at least connect with all the families through the online methodology, and I would not have been able to meet them otherwise. Even if we were to spend 5 years in Shillong, it would be very difficult to reach out and connect to all the families who are staying in such far
wide area,
such a wide area, and as well as in such tucked in places.
Right. Very true.
So for me, that is a very big takeaway. And for these women to hear new concepts like identity, to kind of find somebody nudging them to think about who are they beyond just wives and mothers.
Right, ma'am.
That they have a right to also think about themselves, or and they must also give some thought to themselves, and so on. I think that's great.
That is actually a true power of that, how they nurture yourself also to others.
Yes, of course.
Yes,
And it's a very symbiotic process, because there are officer wives also who are involved in the project, and we are all into it. So it's a growth which we are experiencing for all the people who are involved in the project.
Right.
Be it psychologists, be it coordinators, or the officer wives who are on ground, supporting the projects, and of course, our Jawans.
Right.
Yes.
And what is your long-term vision of ARWA?
I'm not sure whether I'm in a position to give a long-term vision, because we come with a stipulated number of years that we spend, heading an organization like ARWA. But even then, I do feel that futuristically, ARWA should be in a position to upscale women's capabilities, be it mental, emotional, or even the skills that need to be that are required in the present world, in the modern world, particularly about the digital world, the footprints on the digital world, which they must know about, be it regarding the financial literacy, or be it about, say, artificial intelligence, which is taking the whole digital world by the storm. And the most educated people can also get misled by certain videos which are there.
Very true. Yes, ma'am.
And in times like these, to be able to understand which is a genuine video and which is not, I think that is very important. So yes, futuristically, to be prepared for a world which is which changes at the drop of the hat, is what I see
Yes, ma'am.
for Arva.
Yeah, we have also listened the Arva song. So, ma'am, how did you made that?
Honestly, Arva song, we realized, like, when we came to Shillong over a period of time, it was Mrs. Navjeet,
Okay.
who's the wife of General Ravroop, who was IG before. I mean, the previous IG
Okay.
out here in IGR South.
Okay, ma'am.
One of the conferences, she said that we must have a Arva song.
Okay.
And we did not have a Arva song till then. It was her suggestion.
Okay.
But I put it into execution, and for the most part, the lyrics of the song, they really came out from the thought that all the thoughts that and sentiments that were being shared during Rubaru.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, to have your own identity, to be able to have friendships, to be able to move forward even with challenges, and to be able to give each other support in the most
Difficult times.
So all of that, it was all coming from Rubaru. It's not as if it's some kind of a random thought that I put it all together, like in the shape and form of some words. But yes, there was a absolute basis, and by that time I had already witnessed a full phase of Rubaru, 6-month phase of Rubaru, and so much had been shared, so many stories had been shared.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. भाई एक सेकंड कट डाउन करना. We are headed about the Rubaru. So, what is the project Rubaru? मतलब, what is the meaning and significance of that?
So, Rubaru literally means face to face.
Okay.
What we are doing right now,
Okay.
it is Rubaru.
Okay.
And it is a way to connect with other people
Okay.
About things which really need to be talked about, and on a day-to-day basis we don't have these conversations. That has been the overall idea behind Rubaru, that we need to talk about what troubles us, what makes us happy, what are the emotions that we experience, how to express our anger towards our children without feeling guilty. How to also be conscious of our own identity as women. So all these sentiments, they need to be talked about, because on a day-to-day basis we don't talk about
Actually, we do not.
such things with one another.
You're right, ma'am. Very true.
And this was something which took place in Kohima while my husband was posted over there as the IG.
Okay.
Miss Shripriya Menon, who happens to be a psychologist, she had travelled to Kohima.
Okay.
And she was there to collect data in the Assam Rifles Public School as we were getting started with the school project. And that is when a few of the officer wives, they said that we would also like to meet her.
Okay.
A couple of those officer wives had expressed, one of them, that how she had lost her father to COVID-19,
Okay.
and how she had not been able to come out of it.
Oh my God.
So that was only one of the things, one of the stories, and there were so many other things that the ladies wanted to talk, and they went and they met Shripriya Menon. Some of our Jawan's wives also met her one-on-one, and that process ended over there. And later on, Shripriya, she got in touch with me a couple of months later that I would like to connect with the officer wives and the Jawan's wives and so on. So yes, the initial phase of Rubaru was, or rather the initial part of Rubaru was in this form, where in an online method we had some very informal conversations with Shripriya being part of it. Along the line, she also had to learn the peculiarities of Fauji life,
Okay.
as well as Fauji families.
Okay.
Because she happens to be a psychologist, all right, but then she's not a Fauji
Okay,
wife,
interesting. Okay.
and she has not experienced how army or Assam Rifles
Work.
families, what happens over there.
Okay.
So she also got acquainted with that.
Okay.
Later on, when we came to Shillong at DGR headquarters, when my husband took over as the DG, it was then, I, along with Shripriya and a couple of other team members, we decided that let's roll out a project in full swing, where we have a certain structure, a methodology to it, and we have these conversations on a regular basis, on a weekly basis. So a full, format was created, a methodology was applied, and certain topics were decided beforehand, and that is how the project was introduced.
So what are the mediums of that communicate with the officer's wife or with the students? So did you start it with the schools or any other parts as well as?
So we are not, Rubaru is not for students.
Okay.
It has been going on only for Jawan's wives so
okay,
far.
Okay.
But since you have mentioned students, we are already creating, Rubaru resource book,
Okay.
where there are, since Rubaru is now a template,
Okay.
a way how to have these conversations.
Yes.
So we have decided that we will move towards college students also,
Okay.
where students, young students, when they are in the colleges, sometimes they feel quite, they don't know who to talk to
Yes.
about certain things which are
Yes, very
which is
true.
happening
Yes, ma'am.
in their lives.
Yes, ma'am.
So that being said, what if we can have these kinds of curated conversations with college students?
Yes.
So yes, Rubaru is headed towards that direction, as well as for elderly people.
Wow, impressive. So how would that elderly people connect with this Rubaru project?
So I think in future, or whenever we start this vertical for elderly people, it will have to be in an online method
Okay, ma'am.
to begin with.
Okay.
Later on, let's see where it goes. Yeah.
Okay, that's wonderful,
Because
ma'am.
for older people, to be able to talk
Yes, ma'am.
and say what they want to say, to have people to hear them say what they want to say, it doesn't happen often. Sadly,
Right.
it doesn't happen often.
Yes, actually, ma'am. Actually,
They are quite overlooked, and they don't find enough audience even with their own family members.
very true, ma'am. Very true.
Yeah.
We can say, ma'am, at the certain age of like 50 and 60, we crossed. Actually, that is a problem in India that this thing happened. We
I
ignore.
think it's a global problem.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, because when one becomes old, people start losing patience with old people.
Yes, yes, yes.
And particularly those who really who are very old.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
But then for them to be able to even say what they have to say in a day, what they did, and so on, even for a few minutes, I think that can be really good. And to be able to connect with people of their own age group, talking about certain things, I think that could be very wonderful.
Okay, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. So now we are going to heading with the Project Empathy. So being a founder of Project Empathy, how did the name is coming?
The name, it was in 2020. I was sitting. One of the latter part of 2020, things had become a little, it was not so bad
Okay.
in terms of COVID. So I was sitting with one of my friends, who's also one of the trustees in Project Empathy. And I was thinking that we should start, moving towards talking about identity. By the time work in Reach Out Foundation had really, it had almost halted in 2019. There were certain issues in the organization, as well as the funds were drying up. But I didn't want to stop the school project, and I was really thinking, how do we go ahead? So when 2020 happened and COVID came in, I was thinking that we'll move towards identity, because identity is closely related to discrimination.
You're right.
But my friend, she happened to be the messenger. She said,
Okay.
why don't we talk about empathy?
Okay.
Students, everyone is sad, everyone is exhausted because of this, the pandemic. So when she said that, I went back home, I thought about it, and yes, empathy seemed to be just the right thing to talk about and have conversations around emotions and so on. And as far as the name is concerned, it was quite obvious, means we could not have, I didn't want to give it a flowery name or something which did not
Understand.
spell out. It
Okay.
is self-explanatory
Right.
to really look at it that way. So nobody has to think, oh, what is this organization about? Project
Yes.
Empathy it's very it's short, it's simple, and yet it is self-explanatory. So that's how the name happened.
So what are the significance of the project Empathy? We have right now in the whole in the whole in the whole way you have carried out.
The significance of a let's say project, we are calling it Project Empathy, but then it is an organization. An organization of this kind is that we are, let's say we are nudging ourselves
Okay.
for at the outset,
Okay.
which is first for our own selves,
Okay.
and then to the outer environment, to talk about empathy, to at least understand what is empathy and what is not empathy.
Yes. Right.
Having said that, empathy is a very vast topic.
Okay.
Some people
actually.
think that it is a very simple thing and so on, but it is not. It has got so many layers to it. It is almost like peeling an onion.
Yes.
Empathy is also a shape shifter.
Yes, ma'am. Very true.
It changes its shape according to a situation. For example, compassionate anger is something which people, a lot of people may not know about it, but it is
Okay.
driven towards a person because my intent is to, help you out in a certain situation, and I'm getting angry at you because I can see that you are not doing enough for your own self.
Right.
So the intent is for you to get angry towards you.
Okay.
So these kinds of concepts, as well as boundaries, and then the concept of boundary, which is not very too much talked about in India. It is more like a Western concept.
Yes.
You
Yes,
know,
ma'am.
boundaries, particularly in relationships, the ability to say a yes without feeling weak, and the ability to say a no with strength and integrity and with kindness. These are the nuanced aspects of empathy
Yes, ma'am.
when you integrate empathy with them.
Very true. Very true.
So the overall objective, mission, vision for Project Empathy is to bring in awareness about what is empathy, what is not empathy, and from there to create a sense of oneness. I mean, it sounds a very big, a very idealistic objective, and I've heard from a lot of people that, this is not a idealistic world. What do
Okay.
you discrimination has forever existed and
Okay.
it will exist. I said yes, that's a truth.
Yeah, very true, very
since
true.
time immemorial in our world, discrimination has been part of it.
Very
But
true,
then
ma'am.
it is a choice that one makes, whether
Yes,
you
ma'am.
go towards, let's say, empathy or compassion,
Yes, ma'am.
or you choose to discriminate and choose separation. And I choose to talk about empathy with the hope that yes, it can be learnt. It is a skill which can be not only learnt, it can be practiced,
Awesome.
and you can have much better relationships with the outer world, and before that with your own self.
Yes, ma'am. Very true.
Because when you practice empathy, you are actually directly contributing towards having a better mental health for your own self.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So yeah.
But when we talk about any project like Empathy, Rubaru, Arva, the teamwork is very important.
Yes.
So about if we asking about like, how about your team, like how many members are there to contributing these initiatives, and especially for the Empathy project, because it is very deep and very large format.
Yes. Yes.
So ma'am, please tell me something about your team members.
Yes, so we have three trustees, myself, Miss Sudha Gemini, who's also a principal in one of the schools in Delhi, Alok Bharti Public School, and then there is Miss Apala Nethani. She's pursuing PhD in history as
Okay.
of now. And then we have intercultural communications expert. She's from Poland, Miss Agnieszka.
Wow.
Then we have, we have three psychologists who are part of the research vertical.
Okay.
Miss Shripriya Menon, Miss Shubham Thukral, and Miss Bhargavi
Okay.
Kaushik.
Okay.
And then we have our advisors, Miss Monica Banerjee, Mrs. Usha Rai, and Mr. Shashidhar Nanjundaya. So all these three advisors, they have achieved a lot in their fields, and they keep giving us backup support. And we do need credible names in an organization, you know.
Okay.
Apart from that, you know, we whenever there is a project which has got funding to it,
Yes, ma'am.
we outsource the work.
Okay.
Having said that, Mr. Parashar Barua is an integral part of Project Empathy now.
Okay.
He's a very dear friend.
Okay.
I met him for the first time in 2015, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, if I'm remembering correctly.
Okay, ma'am.
And since after that, we have always kept in touch. But our real work or effective work started when we worked together in this project called Naga Oral History Stories of Empathy.
Okay.
Out of which Weaves of Empathy came out.
Okay, ma'am.
And Parashar has been instrumental in bringing out beautifully a film called Weaves of Empathy,
Okay.
based on the culture of Nagaland.
Wow.
And
Impressive.
all the empathy quotient that exists in the culture of Nagaland.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, that you mentioning the oral history of the Nagaland. Ma'am, what is that? Please, can you explain for our listeners of
Yes,
Radio
of
Highway?
course. See, when we talk of history, it is more about dates. It is more about events,
Yes.
chronology, and so on. We don't talk about what emotions people went through.
Yes, ma'am.
How certain personal experiences impacted what was going on socially or historically
Yes, ma'am.
at a particular point in time. But when you go about collecting oral history interviews, that is when not only are you applying empathy
Yes,
in
ma'am.
action, because if you have to tell me your personal story, you have to trust me.
Very true. Get
And
it,
for
ma'am.
you to be able to trust me, I should have provided that kind of an emotional support, emotional safety for you.
Yes, ma'am. Very
If
true.
you feel unsafe with me emotionally, you will never open up.
No, no.
So, for all this process to take place, empathy is crucial. And then, when you are taking oral history interviews, you are personalizing history.
Yes,
So, for example, if we were to record oral history of, let's say, the COVID experience of people in India, so I can go about asking you what happened during COVID. I can ask any number of people what happened in COVID. So, of course, there is going to be a difference in experience for so many people, but still there will be a certain part which will be similar. So, something which is similar for everyone during that time, with emotions involved, with personal stories involved, that becomes oral history.
Okay.
And then the biggest takeaway of oral history is that it lends the mic to each and every person to tell their story.
Wow.
History is written by somebody who's, let's say, in the position of either power,
Yes,
or
ma'am.
they are educated,
Yes, ma'am.
or they are holding a certain position.
Right, yes, yes, ma'am.
So usually history is written by those kinds
Yes,
of
ma'am, yes,
people. And therefore, what about the marginalized people?
Yes, right. We cannot
Who-
think on that level, actually.
Yes. So oral history gives the mic to everyone to tell their story.
Wow.
So it democratizes history to that extent.
So, ma'am, you tell me that about your friend who is being a part of this project. So, he made one song, like you telling that the song. So, ma'am, how the song will be made and what is the history behind that song?
So the song is called Walk With Me.
Okay.
While the film was being created and shot and all of that, and towards the fag end of, wrapping up the editing of the film and so on, one fine day Parashar tells me that, there's a song which I'm thinking of, and so on. So I said, okay. And then he first shared the lyrics.
Okay.
It sounded very nice. And then he said, do you know somebody who can sing the song?
Okay.
So then, through some people, friends, we came to know a singer, Dia Pio Shizu. She sang the song,
Okay.
which Parashar has written originally.
Okay.
And I think while he was creating the film, while he was working on the film, his perspective about empathy also underwent I think, a change and a lot of expansion about the concept and experience. And I think he has expressed beautifully how empathy can pan out for people.
Very
You know,
cool.
and we are calling it the empathy anthem, for that matter.
Wow.
First ever song which has emerged out of India about empathy itself.
Wow, ma'am, it's a true recognized way of thinking beyond that. No one thinking about this.
Yes, yes,
Yes, ma'am.
absolutely.
So you were telling about the project Empathy, the song, the oral history of that particular thing, and you mentioned about your friend. So he is there to be join us for this special event.
Yes, I do think he's there. He's very much there. He's traveled all the way from Mumbai.
Okay, ma'am.
So let's call him.
Please invite Paras sir. Sir, please come and join us for this podcast.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Good to be here. Good to be here at Radio Highway. And
Thank you.
Like again, I should start by congratulating you and your entire team.
Thank you so much.
Very impressive of whatever we have seen so far. So yeah, and hello to your listeners and to the viewers.
Okay. So, sir, ma'am is telling about that something like you written a lyrics. So, how did the idea of lyrics came?
So, like when we started with Project Empathy, in fact, with Weaves of Empathy, I had been working in Nagaland for quite some time.
Okay.
But the project itself gave me a way of unlearning a lot of things about how I approach my work, and knowing having worked in Nagaland, it gave me a challenge to approach this in a different way. Empathy being a lens that we were seeing for the first time, and it was a learning for me. It
Okay.
was a learning also with the way I work as a filmmaker, because I believe, just like Mrs. Lakhera mentioned, the process or the transformation and then the ideas of applying empathy in even filmmaking, or for that matter in every walk of life, that is something that has been a revelation for me. And the song Walk With Me came out of that experience, of that first-hand experience of when I was recording interviews. I was recording across generations, of right from elders in different villages to the young people who are expressing in different forms, and that those words that finally ended up in the lyrics came out of them. Those experiences, those lines came out of them. And the song itself talks about when you're pushed to the limit, when times are I think that's where one has to reach out without any judgment. One has to lend a listening ear, a patient ear, which is what empathy is all about. Without judging, coming to and making sure that you just listen and you understand the other person without any kind of judgment. So that has personally been a learning for me, been a transformation for me to be associated with that. And always when it's firsthand, always when you have these experiences that you witness firsthand, that does leave a very long-standing impact, and that has been the case with me too. So
So, when you're filming these things and the song, why choose that Nagaland?
see, honestly, like I said it somewhere else, I feel part of me belongs in Nagaland.
Okay.
I've been working there since 2005.
Oh wow.
So for the past 21 years, I've been going in and out, and somehow that has been the case. But when Project Empathy came out, when we got together for this, it gave me a different perspective altogether. It gave me a new challenge of going back to this place that I've known pretty much all my life, but looking at it from a completely different way.
Okay.
Seeing things differently, seeing the same thing differently, asking different questions. And if you're aware of the history of Nagaland, so how maybe this whole idea came to me, that what if empathy is the answer in somewhere when you hit a roadblock.
Yes.
What if this is the way forward? Because
Yes.
so far we have different perspectives, but we don't, and we look at solution, but probably empathy is the only solution. It's probably the only human emotion that makes us for who we are.
Actually.
And if we start applying that in our day-to-day life, I think that's when Nagaland, even looking at Nagaland was a different thing for me when I was seeing it through empathy.
Okay.
And that's where that is what the film is about.
So, being in everything is done, now we can go in and end up this session from both of your side. What is next about Project Empathy? Where it is going on?
So there's a lot going on in Project Empathy, but if we were to talk about the oral history project,
Yes, ma'am.
the next chapter is opening in Manipur,
Oh, wow.
for which we are here.
Okay, okay,
Parashar has traveled from Mumbai and I have traveled from Shillong.
okay.
And the idea one basic objective is to bring out stories of empathy embedded in Manipur culture, in the culture of Manipur. At the same time, a sheer hope that there are human stories which have prevailed even during the times of conflict and strife, which the state has been seeing in the last 3 years.
Okay.
A state like Manipur, which has had such a wonderful past history, and
Right.
it's one of the most progressive states in this region. It cannot be defined by conflict.
Very true, ma'am.
So
Very
with
true.
that hope, we have come to this to Manipur, bringing the project here,
Okay.
and with the idea of collecting stories from Manipur.
So ma'am, that will actually, the oral history of Manipur, the new chapter is going on to be held. So we can say that ki you can connect whole like Assam Rifles, Indian Army, plus to the normal public generation, to the youth. Everyone you will connect it to the empathy.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
That's exactly the idea.
Okay.
In fact, Parashar can also add something to it, because
Yes.
as a filmmaker, he's also thinking, and he's been very excited about Manipur chapter as well.
Absolutely. Like I've come back after 16 years.
Okay.
So, and it gives me immense pleasure to be back here. The kind of history and culture Manipur has, and the opportunity to connect with different people from different walks of life, to the youth, to the scholars, to the elders who have our huge repository of knowledge and wisdom. The wisdom wherein empathy is lying within them. The fact that we can excavate and explore some of those ancient ideas, which gives us example, just like what we had in Nagaland, where we found that they have instances in their own folklore and stories of empathy, of resilience, of forgiveness, things that we sometimes forget in this present day-to-day ideas, right? So the opportunity and the hope that we can maybe clear the clutter and get those stories out. And
That's
whatever,
wonderful.
I think it will be personally very enriching, and whatever little we can help and put together out there for everyone, the listeners, whoever is going to be part of this project, if we can do that, I believe that will be a small initiative towards making sure that the world is more empathetic and more non-judgment about everything. This is where I think what we need right now.
Okay, that's wonderful, sir. That's very recognizable job you are doing, and we can say that Project Empathy become very hit and become very good in future. Right now, you are doing a fabulous job through like different walks of the life,
Yes.
and through your radio. What are the message for listeners from both of your side?
Listen more to the radio.
Okay.
There were times as a child, there were times when the cricket commentary used to be listened to on radio.
Yes, ma'am.
And there were hubs where people would stand together and listen to the commentary.
Yes, ma'am.
I think that was a wonderful way of enhancing your listening skills also.
Very true, ma'am.
So, I think radio is a very powerful medium, and a radio station like yours, Radio Highway, it has so much potential to do a lot of good work, which you are already doing, but taking it to, several notches up there for everyone to know and listen to radio coming from this part of the world, and listening to the stories which are emerging from this part of the world. And several people who belong to Manipur, who come from other places also, but then primarily coming from Manipur. I think that is a brilliant way, and that can also be a very important way to talk about empathy.
Okay.
In,
Okay, ma'am.
in every form and fashion.
Okay, ma'am.
There
Great.
could, I would rather not call it a message, but like a suggestion,
Okay.
that there could be a program or a vertical which is talking about empathy, and whatever we will be collecting during our project, if we can have a certain vertical where we are talking about how empathy is embedded in Manipuri culture, if that can also become a part of this radio station, I think that will be very good.
So, ma'am, Yes, sir.
If,
Yes.
if I would just add to that in terms
Yes,
of
sure.
our mythology and how we are trying to approach it, we are trying to hopefully involve a lot of youngsters
Okay.
from different universities or from Manipur or whoever, youngsters in Manipur from different communities who would go out there and collect these stories of different oral traditions. So I really find Radio Highway can be a wonderful collaborator where we maybe we can come up with something where, just like Mrs. Lakhera mentioned, that where these scholars, these young data people, they can come and speak about their experiences firsthand. I always believe as much as possible, if it's spoken firsthand without any via media. So the radio is where they get that first voice where they can speak about their experiences, and you can feature them. Your listeners can then be part of this process, and they can send their feedback. I believe I think I must just thank all your listeners. The very fact that they've given time to listen to this program in this time of of all other mediums that they have, but they still choose, I think itself is very heartening. And
Yes, sir.
radio gives us a lot of excitement to make
Very
sure
true.
that the power of the word and the power of the spoken word, without anything else, I think that's where one can communicate, and I think it has the power to reach people's hearts, and it gives us a lot of excitement and hope that Radio Highway can become a wonderful collaborator in Project Empathy and help in amplifying things, and I think it will give us a great platform for
And
our researchers.
breaking stereotypes
Yes.
with empathy.
Yes.
Okay, ma'am.
It is a great way to break stereotypes.
Very true. Yes, ma'am.
When we talk about, say, the empathy quotient in Manipuri culture,
Yes.
it can go a great distance in breaking stereotypical notions by a lot of people in India who have not even visited Manipur, but
Yes.
from some far away ideas, they have got all kinds of biases and
Yes, yes,
prejudices.
Yes,
So
yes.
to
yes.
break that
Very
can
true.
also
Yes,
become a great radio highway can become a
Yes, ma'am. So we talk about the oral history of Manipur, oral history of Nagaland. So what will be the song is there also, right, ma'am? So
Right.
can we listen this song on Radio Highway?
Yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
Let's listen to the song
Walk with Me.
India's first empathy anthem.
anthem. Yes.
So thank
Very
you so
proud
much.
to bring you the song.
So thank-
I see the cracks in your armor, the weight in your stride, the shadows you carry, the tears you can't hide. But every wound is a story, every scar a fight. Together we'll weather through the darkest night. Walk with me through the fire and the rain. Walk with me past the sorrow and the pain. We'll rise, we'll bend, we'll never break. Hand in hand, every step we take. Your silence is heavy, but I hear it clear. A language of heartache, of doubt and fear. We've got a spark, it's enough to ignite the courage to stumble and still stand upright. When the world feels cold, when your strength feels gone, lean on me and we'll move along. Walk with me through the fire and the rain. Walk with me past the sorrow and the pain. We'll rise, we'll bend, we'll never break. every bruise a guide. We'll build a bridge, not a wall, side by side. Through the wreckage, through the dust, it's you and me. It's us. Walk with me. Walk with me.
So thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, sir, for being a part of this Radio Highway Palil Ki Wani with Tehzeeb wala RJ Shardul. And we will be welcoming more sessions with you like that. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you for
Thank
having us over.
Thank you.
Feel the rhythm, feel the vibe. You are listening to